You don't have to like me. I get it. That's okay. I'm not always that likable. I'm obnoxious. I'm aggressive. I'm kind of vulgar. I'm way too extroverted. I'm annoyingly and aggressively friendly. And overall, I'm just kind of an acquired taste of a human.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste that I just acquired.
So if you find me off-putting at all, that is okay. It is okay if you want to leave a comment telling me how I am too obnoxious and weird looking to ever find a man who will love me, or that I'm an ugly lesbian, or both of those things in the same comment without any hint of irony. You can do that, and that's okay, because I can take it. But if you come after my dog, you insult Chewy, now we've got problems. And not only do you insult Chewy, but you do so without any trace of facts and logic, with lies and propaganda. You use your platform as a way to promote harm against my dog, my baby. Yeah, now we've got problems. 2 weeks ago, on January 9th, 2023, self-proclaimed theocratic fascist and self-proclaimed transphobe of the year, both of those things are in his Twitter bio, Matt Walsh tweeted the following: "Pit bulls should be banned, and there is no sane argument to the contrary. They are dangerous animals responsible for a vastly disproportionate number of fatal maulings in this country. The fact that you think they're cute does not outweigh the danger. Ban them." Under which he retweeted a linked story about a child in Louisiana who was killed by a pit bull attack. We're going to look at that article a little bit and delve into what happened in that story in just a second, but just to be clear, really quick, I think all of us here can agree that the death of a child under any circumstances is always tragic in 100% of situations. I truly do grieve for that child's family, and if by any random chance any of them see this video, which I doubt will happen, but if they do, I want them all to know that I'm so sorry for what all of you are going through. And I don't want to focus too much on just that story itself, because all that's going to do is bring up trauma, and outside of a few asides here and there, I want to focus on broader trends, on statistics, and on facts overall rather than on anecdotal stories. And Matt himself will agree with that approach based on the tweets that he released following this statement. Many of the responses to Matt's tweet have been to compare pit bulls to guns, which we will also break down in a bit during the main body of this video. But many of the tweets responding to this have mimicked Matt's tweet, saying things like, "Guns should be banned, and there is no sane argument to the contrary. They are dangerous weapons responsible for a vastly disproportionate number of deaths in this country. The fact that you think they're cool does not outweigh the danger. Ban them." Basically just a lot of people replacing every time Matt said pit bulls with guns instead. And we're going to break down where that comparison works versus where it falls apart in just a few minutes here. But my first thought when I saw this, and then I saw the comparisons happening, my first thought was, don't a lot of Americans have both a pit bull and a gun? So I tweeted asking for responsible American gun owners who also have sweet pet pit bulls to reach out to me. And I got a lot of DMs from people saying that they or someone in their life both use guns for hunting or for shooting at the range and handle and store them safely otherwise, but that they also have a pet pit bull on top of that who's also a well-trained dog. So as it turns out, Matt, guns and pit bulls are not the only two genders. And come on, you're gonna tell me that this image right here isn't just like pure American? Or what about this one? Come on, this is American. This is freedom. I'm a freedom-loving American myself, and nobody is taking my pit bull or my gun away from me. I don't actually own a gun, but if I did, you couldn't take it from me. And what about this picture? From a story about a pit bull who helped the local police. But I know that Matt Walsh is an intelligent man who cares about facts, and a few anecdotal pictures aren't going to change his mind. In fact, he himself repeatedly tweeted about how showing a picture of your cute pit bull puppy doesn't really say anything about whether or not pit bulls are dangerous. And you know what? He's right. The plural of anecdote is not data. But what if I did have data? What if I did have facts and logic and sources to show that pit bulls are actually our friends? What if I had information about why breed-specific legislation does more harm than good to both people and animals? Well, Matt and friends, if you care as much about facts and logic as you say you do, then I hope you'll stick around and listen to today's topic, why Matt Walsh is wrong about pit bulls.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.
What's up, my fellow small business supporters, I'm Savvy, and welcome back to Savvy Writes Books, the channel where we talk about books and business, where today I am drinking out of my must-love Pitbulls mug. This topic may seem a little bit out of the realm of books and business, but I am going to tie it together right here. One of the main reasons that I started a business producing books was that I wanted to start squashing some of those rumors and bad reputations that Pitbulls were getting. As you guys know, I am an annoying Pitbull mommy who loves my boy Chewy more than anything in this whole goddamn world, and as a result, back in 2017, I started my own small business, Forever Home Friends, which produces picture books, plushies, and more based on real rescue dogs and cats and their journeys of how they get adopted, and those books also, from 10% of all the sales I make, I donate 10% of the profits to local animal shelters here in Chicago. The second book I released in the series, which I released over 5 years ago now, was actually about Chewy, and it's called Smile Chewy, and it's a book about Chewy learning to gain confidence to smile for the camera at the animal shelter, which is difficult for him to do because he has some scars on his face due to past abuse. And in that book, we do delve a little bit into how some people are likely to hurt pit bulls or to treat them unkindly because they have this reputation for being scary. I even have a poster up in my room right there that is not visible on camera. That's a quote from the book from Chewy saying, "Maybe I can show the world that pit bulls are sweet, not scary." So Smile Chewy and Chewy's collection is available on my website, foreverhomefriends.com, which is linked in the description below. And that book does kind of introduce kids to these topics related to self-confidence, body image, learning to have confidence in yourself, and doing that in a kid-friendly way through a dog's perspective. And it also in there a little bit discusses the issues that stereotypes against pit bulls can lead to a dog being hurt or a dog experiencing abuse in this type of way. So you can check that out as well, or you could just watch this video if books aren't your thing. That's all good. I actually did talk about this book and about my Forever Home Friends series in general when I was reviewing Matt Walsh's failed attempt of a children's book called Johnny the Walrus, which had a lot of issues in just the writing of the story itself, like outside of the whole like weird trans comparisons. Like the story itself about having a kid who has no agency, whose mom and the people around him make all the decisions for him, is just bad writing and a bad form of education for children. So you can watch my Johnny the Walrus reviews as well. But in the meantime, we're gonna get back into today's topic. So part one of this video, what is a pit bull? Matt Walsh likes definitions of things. It's how he makes sense of the world, and there's no shame in that. After all, why else would a man write an entire book and make an entire documentary called What is a Woman that focused largely on getting people to nail down the abstract concept of human linguistic categorization into one neat package? So let's start there. Honey, wake up! New Matt Walsh 2023 documentary is dropping. It's time for What is a Pit Bull? Well, if you ask the question, what is a pit bull, hoping for a neat and concise definition, you're going to be more disappointed than Matt Walsh interviewing blue-haired leftists on the street about the definition of womanhood. Because, as it turns out, just like in all areas of categorization, what a pit bull even is a tricky question. So let's start here with the most common misconception about pit bulls, that they're even one dog breed in the first place. So that's right, pit bulls aren't actually one breed of dogs. Rather, they're a broad category that can include certain breeds, sometimes does and sometimes doesn't, depending on who you're asking, and is often judged more on whether or not they look like they belong in that category than whether or not they actually do. They're judged more based on their appearance. Kind of like women. According to the Pennsylvania SPCA, the term pit bull refers to not a single breed, but a group of breeds, including the American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, among others. Most originated from pairings of the ancestors we now called Old English Bulldog and Terriers. The breeds wanted to merge the muscular body and tenacity for the bulldog with the agility and gameness of the terriers. Originally bred for blood sports like bull and bear baiting in Europe and North America, these dogs were trained to attack and immobilize the agitated animal, and so were favored for their large, strong jaws and muscular necks and shoulders.
Yeah, buns and ties.
When these sports were outlawed in the early 1800s, people began fighting the dogs, a sport more easily concealed from authorities. Since then, pit bulls have undeservedly inherited a bad reputation, much inflated by the media, making them the target of unfair discrimination and breed banning. The truth is that this highly intelligent, energetic, affectionate group loves people, even strangers, and thrives on attention and affection. Pit bulls were prized as wonderful family dogs in years past. In fact, they once had the moniker of nanny dog because of their wonderful demeanor with children. Now, there's a lot to break down in this excerpt, so let's break it down. Let's start at the beginning. Pit bulls are not just one breed of dog. Many different breeds often fall under the pit bull umbrella, and often these breeds are mixed with other breeds. So for example, my dog Chewy is a Staffordshire Terrier, meaning he'd fall under the pit bull umbrella, but his frame is much smaller than most pit bulls, and his nose is a lot longer and narrower than most other Staffies, and that's because Chewy is a rescue dog, and he's mixed with other dog breeds, and we don't know his full origin. We don't know his exact breed makeup, and in fact, most owners of rescue dogs don't know their dog's exact breed percentages. So as a result, breed-specific legislation, like some of the laws that exist in some US states and some parts of Canada, those laws that ban people from keeping pit bulls domestically, those are often really hard to enforce and frequently leads to shelters listing mixed breed dogs under another breed's name. This isn't usually a lie either. If you have a dog that's half pit bull terrier, half lab, but your shelter is overcrowded and the dog will be euthanized if he doesn't get adopted, and it's illegal to adopt pit bulls in your area, then the shelter is going to list that dog as a lab, which is still the truth just as much as listing the dog as a pit bull would be. As a result, first-time dog owners go into these situations not knowing fully their dog's breeds, their dog's characteristics, and that can cause the owner to fail at fully training the dog properly, which increases the risk of harm to the dog and increases the risk of the dog having types of bad behavior, which can then go on to perpetuate the cycle. For example, just as the SPCA source mentioned, pit bulls do have very strong jaws, which is one reason that they have that reputation for being dangerous. A dog with a weak, tiny jaw might bite you more. As a lot of people point out, a lot of like little chihuahuas and small dogs are often the ones who are barking aggressively and biting people, but that dog's jaw is weaker and much smaller. And if a dog has a jaw that is a lot stronger latching onto you, that's more likely to be dangerous. And I think we can all agree on that. Me, Matt, all of us can probably agree that that's true. So that's why when I play with Chewy, I like to give him activities that allow him to use his jaw in productive ways. So we like to play tug of war. He's very good at tug of war. He almost always wins. And often his favorite activity is just to like hang from a toy or a piece of rope while I hold it up in the air. He'll lock his teeth on it and I'll hold it up like this. This helps me get in some extra deadlifts every day by bringing Chewy up and down and holding his 50-pound self in midair. And it also gives Chewy an outlet to exercise and use his jaw and get that instinct out of the way. However, regardless of the specific traits that are often associated with pit bulls and all the dog breeds that fall under that category as a whole, each individual dog is going to have unique traits and unique abilities. According to the ASPCA, it is likely that the vast majority of pit bull type dogs in our communities today are the result of random breeding, two dogs being mated without regard to the behavioral traits being passed on to their offspring. The result of random breeding is a population of dogs with a wide range of behavioral predispositions. For this reason, it is important to evaluate and treat each dog, no matter its breed, as an individual. While a dog's genetics may predispose it to behave in certain ways, genetics do not exist in a vacuum. Rather, behavior develops through a complex interaction between environment and genetics. This is an especially important consideration when we look at an individual dog versus a breed. Many diverse and sometimes subtle factors influence the development of behavior, including, but not limited to, early nutrition, stress levels experienced by the mother during pregnancy, and even temperature in the womb. And when it comes to influencing the behavior of an individual dog, factors such as housing conditions and the history of social interactions play pivotal roles in behavioral development. The factors that feed into the expression of behavior are so inextricably intertwined that it's usually impossible to point to any one specific influence that accounts for a dog becoming aggressive. This is why there is such a variation in behavior between individual dogs, even when they are of the same breed and bred for the same purpose. Because of the impact of experience, the pit bull specifically bred for generations to be aggressive may not fight with dogs, and the Labrador Retriever bred to be a service dog may be aggressive toward people. Early positive experiences, most notably socialization, are considered key in preventing aggressive tendencies in dogs. Puppies that learn how to interact, play, and communicate with both people and members of their own and other species are less likely to show aggressive behavior as adults. Given the powerful impact of socialization, it's no surprise that dogs that are chained outside and isolated from positive human interaction are more likely to bite people than dogs that are integrated into our homes. Unfortunately, pit bull type dogs that find themselves in these conditions may be at greater risk for developing aggressive behavior. But because these factors are ones that can be controlled by better educated owners, it is possible to reduce these risks, not just in pit bulls, but in all breeds of dogs. The reality is that dogs of many breeds can be selectively bred or trained to develop aggressive traits. Therefore, the responsible ownership of any dog requires a commitment to proper socialization, humane training, and conscientious supervision. Let's keep those things in mind as we move into part 2, the pit bull and gun comparison. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the responses to Matt's tweet were from people trying to rewrite it, changing pit bulls to guns every time he used that, and talking about how, well, if Matt really cared about something being dangerous to kids, then he should care a lot more about gun control. And there are a couple places where this comparison works, and then there are a couple places where it just completely falls apart. So where it works, first, I agree that it works to tell Matt that he's hypocritical for caring about infringing on people's personal freedoms when it comes to something that could be dangerous. Animals can be dangerous under certain circumstances, guns can too. Yet Matt thinks it's fine to control the ownership of animals but not of guns. Yeah, it's definitely hypocritical of him. The other place where it works is when drawing the comparison about something being dangerous depending on how it's used. Plenty of people use guns to shoot at the range, to hunt for food. Yeah, I mean, people in the US do use guns to hunt for food. Some people don't know that, but plenty of communities within the US still do that. And for a last resort in self-defense in a life or death situation as well. Yet there are people out there who do obtain guns without proper training. There are people who use them for evil, for violence, solely for the sake of hurting others. We can draw the comparison here that the person in charge is really what's at fault. If you get a dog, especially a bigger dog, especially a strong dog, or any larger strong animal for that matter, and you don't train that animal, you don't teach that animal how to respond to commands, you don't neuter that animal, and most of all, you intentionally train that animal to respond violently in times of stress, then yeah, your animal can turn violent and that is your fault. In fact, this is likely what happened in the very case that Matt Walsh was citing in his first tweet. If we look back to that New York Post article, it says, the dog's owner, Eric Lopez, told officers he wasn't home during the attack and regularly lets the dog roam the neighborhood unrestrained. According to the article, Lopez was charged with negligent homicide because he didn't restrain his animal. Does someone who lets the dog roam the neighborhood when they're not home, do they sound like a responsible dog owner to you? Now, I couldn't find any information online about this dog other than knowing that the dog has been euthanized following the attack. However, here are some questions that I want to ask about this story before I think we can even get a complete picture. First of all, was the dog male or female? And either way, was the dog fixed? It's well documented that male dogs of any breed who don't get fixed are much more likely to engage in aggressive behavior than dogs who have been neutered. That's one reason that most people encourage pet owners to get their pets sterilized. Second, if Lopez was the kind of pet owner who let his dog roam the neighborhood unsupervised, did he even train that dog at all? Keep in mind, dogs of all breeds are animals first, and animals react on instinct. Basically, what I'm getting at here is, I doubt Lopez actually trained his dog at all if he couldn't even be bothered to supervise him or to keep him on his own property. And third, where does the dog's breed even come into play here? In response to the gun comparisons, Matt Walsh tweeted the following. You have a constitutional right to own guns. You do not have a constitutional right to own animals. Dogs have minds of their own. Guns do not. There is no connection between these issues, and besides, you don't object to all kinds of different animal bans. Why is this one an issue? So first of all, when you start with, the law currently says, that's not a real argument, because we're not arguing what the law or what the Constitution says right now. We're arguing what it should say or what should happen. I could just respond to that by saying, okay, well, I propose an amendment to the Constitution that we do have the right to own animals. If that amendment were to somehow get added to the Constitution, would Matt Walsh suddenly say, oh, okay, you win, we're good, bye, I give up? No, because this isn't actually about the Constitution. It's about the philosophical morality of it. It's about what we're thinking should happen, not what currently is happening. Second, let's look at this. Dogs have minds of their own, guns do not. And yeah, that's true. And that's a reason in favor of treating them better than how we treat guns, because animals who have minds of their own are sentient creatures with their own feelings. That's why we also have laws against abusing animals, but we don't have laws against breaking your own gun in half. You're right, Matt, comparing a living creature to an inanimate object doesn't work. But that doesn't say anything about pit bulls being more or less dangerous than guns or than any other animal or dog breed. You're right, though, the comparison is stupid, so after we finish this section, I'm not going to bring it up again because there are way more important things to talk about. But let's also take a look at the tweet that this was replying to. This person said to Matt, this is a slippery slope to justifying banning guns. Dogs are living creatures that we bred to rely on humans. It's our responsibility to fix this in a humane way. Bans just make dogs victims of more abuse and cruelty, and the cycle continues. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Anyway, let's look at this line, that we bred dogs to rely on humans. I think we definitely could have this lead into a conversation about regulations surrounding dog breeding and animal breeding industries more. Puppy mills, unethical breeders, breeders who selectively breed dogs for solely certain visual traits, those are all a huge issue issue, both in causing overpopulation problems with animals and also for abuse and cruelty towards the animals themselves. For example, many breeds of dogs are susceptible to hip dysplasia because of constant inbreeding just for certain visual traits. Dogs like pugs, French bulldogs, while they're super cute, they can often suffer extreme skin issues because of the wrinkles, the like excessively wrinkliness of their skin and fur. And this doesn't mean that those types of dogs who already exist don't deserve loving homes. They absolutely do, and they should be adopted and cared for. It just means that, yeah, sure, maybe we could have this be a jumping off point for a discussion about regulating the breeding of animals more. I'm completely up for that discussion if you are, Matt. But if we're going to come back into the here and now, the world currently does have pit bulls in it and does have mixed breed types of dogs who have similar qualities to those dogs. Those dogs already exist and need loving homes as well. Next, I want to talk about how one would go about banning pit bulls necessarily or enforcing this in any type of ethical way. As I mentioned earlier, the term pit bull is often used for a grouping of animals of multiple different breeds. So does that mean everyone is required to do a DNA test on every mixed breed dog before adopting it? What percentage of pit bull or staffy or bull terrier DNA should each dog be allowed to have? Does it have to be 0%? Because that's going to eliminate a lot of dogs in the world due to how many mixed breed dogs there are. Most rescue dogs in shelters have a huge mix of all kinds of DNA, and those mixed breed types of dogs are often much healthier and live longer lives than dogs who have been purebred or selectively bred for certain traits that can lead to health conditions for them. According to Mickelson Found Animals, as many as 75% of mixed breed dogs in animal shelters, including pit bulls and pit bull mixes, are misidentified as the wrong breed. So banning pit bulls would just end up with a whole lot of people's dogs getting confiscated and often killed. But that's unnecessary. All of this is unnecessary because all of this in the first place relies on accepting Matt's premise that pit bulls are actually inherently dangerous, and they're not. Part 3. So, are pit bulls actually dangerous? No. Let's return to Matt's tweet that set all of this off. Remember, he said, pit bulls should be banned and there is no sane argument to the contrary. They are dangerous animals responsible for a vastly disproportionate number of fatal maulings in this country. The fact that you think they're cute does not outweigh the danger. Ban them. So there's a few things we need to break down in this tweet. First of all, there is no sane argument to the contrary. Cool, I'm glad you're open to discussion, Matt. Your boss, Ben Shapiro, he once said that the mark of an authoritarian leftist is someone who believes that their opposition ought to be silenced. So if you're shutting down all conversation right now, you're kind of acting like a radical leftist, and I don't think that pink hair would look good on you, Matt. But regardless, let's give some sane arguments to the contrary. Matt's actual argument here is the following: that pit bulls cause a vastly disproportionate number of fatal maulings in this country. So first of all, it's impossible to fact check this statement for a few reasons. First, disproportionate compared to what? Individuals or other dog breeds? Remember, pit bulls aren't categorized as one breed, but are a categorical collection of dogs that can contain between 4 to 6 different breeds depending on who you're asking. So if you're saying that the collective fatal maulings done by like 4 different breeds of dogs is greater than those by any one individual breed of dog, that's a 4-on-1 comparison. You're not comparing the same numbers to begin with. That's like if I decided to divide all humans into different colors of the rainbow, and I split us up into 6 different colors of the rainbow, and then I said people who I categorized as not purple have done more crimes than those I categorized as purple. Yeah, that's because there was way more people in the whole not purple category. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, no shit. Second, even if we take the premise that it's true that 4+ different breeds of dogs all together kill more people than any one individual single breed of other dog, we still have to ask ourselves a few questions about this premise. So first, is there even proof this is true? According to Newsweek, pit bulls have often been misidentified and erroneously counted in statistics on dog-related incidents. A peer-reviewed study published by the Journal of the American Veterinary Association concluded that media reports on bite-related incidents are prone to significant breed identification error rates of over 40%, and that valid breed determination was possible in only 17% of all incidents. So, for the most part, when a dog attacks a human, the majority of times, the exact breed of the dog or that dog's exact genetic makeup is not even known for certain and can't even be reported with certainty. If we take a look at the American Veterinary Medical Association study, if we look at that study directly, here's what those results concluded. Major co-occurrent factors for the 256 dog bite-related fatalities included absence of an able-bodied person to intervene, incidental or no unfamiliar relationships of victims with dogs, owner failure to neuter dogs. Oh wow, it's almost like I brought that exact point up earlier. Compromised ability of victims to interact appropriately with dogs, dogs kept isolated from regular positive human interactions versus family dogs, owner's prior mismanagement of dogs, and owner's history of abuse or neglect of dogs. 4 or more of these factors co-occurred in 206 80.5% of deaths. For 401 dogs described in various media accounts, reported breeds differed for 124. For 346 dogs with both media and animal control breed reports, breed differed for 139, 40.2%. Valid breed determination was possible for only 17.6% of cases. 20 breeds, including 2 known mixes, were identified. So there are a whole variety of factors that could lead a dog to be violent, breed not even necessarily being among them. And when trying to figure out those dogs and the specific types of breeds that were engaging in that type of violent behavior that led to those fatalities, the majority of cases they didn't even know for certain what the dog's breed was. Second of all, dogs that attack and kill people in the first place. What are the reasons that this even happens? Could it be due to temperament? Could it be due to physical attributes? Well, according to caringpets.org, an independent nonprofit research group published statistics and general information about pit bulls. Pit bulls are no more dangerous than any other breed of dog. According to scientific research on pit bulls, these are the facts. Breed doesn't determine the severity of bites or aggression risk, breed-specific legislation is not effective, and most pit bulls are mixed breed dogs. The CDC compiled statistics on dog bite cases for 20 years and determined that pit bulls are not any more dangerous than any other breed. The study further concluded that 25 breeds were identified in dog bite-related fatalities. In a more recent study, the CDC determined that dog bite-related incidents aren't a breed-specific problem. Scientific studies have shown that 60% of the dogs were identified as pit bulls when this wasn't the case in many cases. When a dog has less than 50% of pit bull ancestry DNA, it is in fact a mixed breed dog. Okay though, you might say, but isn't it still true that pit bulls are stronger and more aggressively tempered than any other dog breed, and so they're still the most dangerous dog breed, right? No, that's wrong on all counts. All of that's wrong. First of all, according to Michelson Found Animals, German Shepherds and Rottweilers are actually the breeds of dogs that have the strongest bites, not pit bulls. And I don't think those dogs should be banned either, although those dogs in past decades have faced the breed-specific legislation and moral panic in the media type of treatment that pit bulls are getting now, so who knows? Second, according to caringpets.org, one of the most persistent myths about pit bulls is that they have a bad temperament and are unpredictable. However, in breed temperament tests conducted by the American Temperament Test Society on pit bulls and 129 other breeds, pitties scored in the top 23% for their excellent temperament. The pits scored higher than 100 of the different breeds that were tested. Dogs that are unpredictable don't rank high for their excellent temperament. Not only do pit bulls make excellent family pets, but many of them are also successfully trained to work as therapy dogs, canine dogs, and service dogs. Pit bulls undergo intensive training to prepare them to live with families and help people deal with traumatic events. In one of the most publicized cases in the country, 22 dogs traumatized from fighting were rescued by a sanctuary and rehabilitated. They learned to trust people again and went on to live with families or become therapy dogs. Pitbullinfo.org also contains a wealth of facts about the myths surrounding pit bull bites and how those bites actually compare to other dogs. The myth that pit bull type dogs have the strongest bite and a locking jaw. The facts. Here's what the site says. There is no such thing as a locking jaw. No dogs of any breed or type have physical characteristics in their jaw that would cause or allow them to lock their jaws. Furthermore, pit bull type dogs do not have the strongest bite. That was what we covered just a second ago. A recent peer-reviewed study that analyzed 140 serious dog bite-related incidents concluded there is no difference in the medical treatment required following the bite or in the type of bite inflicted between dog bites by breeds stereotyped as dangerous, including legislated breeds such as German Shepherds, Rottweilers, and pit bull type dogs, and other breeds of similar sizes and strengths that are not stereotyped as dangerous, including non-legislated breeds like boxers, Labrador retrievers, and bulldogs. Several peer-reviewed studies from the Frontiers in Veterinary Science and the Journal of Anatomy have concluded that the strength of a dog's bite is related to a dog's overall size and strength, and not to its breed. In June 2008, the Journal of Veterinary Behavior published a peer-reviewed study called Is There a Difference? Comparison of Golden Retrievers and Dogs Affected by Breed-Specific Legislation Regarding Aggressive Behavior. And as pit bulls are often one of the main breeds affected by breed-specific legislation, they were analyzed as part of this study. I have linked the full study in the description below so you can read it, see how it was conducted, see what was controlled for, and all of that, but here is a summary of the findings. Comparing the results of Golden Retrievers and breeds affected by the legislation, no significant difference was found. A scientific basis basis for breed-specific lists does not exist. Part 4, breed-specific legislation. What should we do? Breed-specific legislation, often shortened to BSL, is when a town, city, province, or country decides to outlaw the ownership of specific dog breeds. This often leads to those banned dog breeds becoming overrepresented in shelters and in animal control centers, often leading to greater euthanization of these dogs when, in fact, many of them could be living in loving homes as pets and companions to humans. As the ASPCA found, BSL actually doesn't work at all. Laws that ban particular breeds of dogs do not achieve these aims and instead create the illusion, but not the reality, of enhanced public safety. Notably, there are no statewide laws that discriminate based on dog breed, and 18 states have taken the proactive step of expressly banning laws that single out particular breeds for disparate legal treatment. Even the White House has weighed in against laws that target specific breeds. In a statement issued in 2013, President Obama said, "We don't support breed-specific legislation. Research shows that bans on certain types of dogs are largely ineffective and often a waste of public resources. And the simple fact is that dogs of any breed can become dangerous when they're intentionally or unintentionally raised to be aggressive. All dogs, including pit bulls, are individuals. Treating them as such, providing them with care, training and supervision that they require, and judging them by their actions and not their DNA or their physical appearance is the best way to ensure that dogs and people can continue to share safe and happy lives together." So in conclusion, Matt Walsh was wrong about pit bulls. I love Chewy, he's my baby, and I will probably have more pit bulls in the future because I think that they're extremely sweet and I think that they're extremely cute. However, I don't discriminate based on breed either, so I've had dogs of all types of breeds throughout my life, and I plan to have more types of dogs of all types of breeds throughout the continuation of my life. I do want to point everyone to a resource that I think is doing great work, and that is called the Bickle Foundation, founded by Brian Bickle, former Chicago Blackhawks player, and I've linked that in the description below. He and his wife, Amanda, have started this foundation to raise awareness about the fact that pit bulls aren't dangerous and to dispel a lot of these myths that have been out there in the world. So if you want to read up on more of what they're doing, I have linked them as a source in the description below as well. So please check them out because I think they provide a lot of really important information. I love that Chewy's barking in the background right now. He's like, "Yeah, Savvy, tell Matt Walsh that he's wrong about me. Tell that dumb asshole that he should never insult me again." But yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, any type of animal is going to only be as dangerous as environmental factors allow them to be. And if we're looking at dogs specifically, not like feral wild animals like a tiger or something, if we're looking at dogs, as people have pointed out, dogs were specifically bred to be companion animals for humans and to be reliant on humans. They don't survive in the wild like wolves. So we do have to examine those type of domesticated dogs in a different light than we would a wild feral animal in terms of whether we're allowed to keep those as pets and things like that. I'm always going to care a lot about dogs. That's one of my hugest missions as a creator and one of the things that inspired me to be a writer in the first place. So I really hope that this video can help put some myths to rest about pit bulls and can encourage you to be kind and good to the pit bulls in your life. If you really think that we need to ban something dangerous in this world, maybe we should look at banning Matt Walsh instead. I think that Matt Walsh has done a lot more collective harm to this world than dogs do. So yeah, no more Matt Walsh. That sounds like a threat. I didn't mean it that way. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I will see you guys again on Friday for another video. In the meantime, keep supporting small businesses, keep supporting rescue dogs, and have a fantastic start to your day. Bye!
And please remember, help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.